Hey, happy Monday, y'all, and welcome to FPP Live, a time I connect with you every Monday live at 7 p.m. EST to chat with you about how you connect faith, purpose, and profit. Listen, you need all three if you're going to live as the highest and best version of who God created you to be. Yes, God created you to profit. So He gave you your purpose in the first place. It's going to take faith to activate it fully and completely. So, this is part two in a series I started last week. But before I do that, as I ask you week after week, those of you that come live and those of you that watch the replay can do this too. Say hello, tell me where you're from. If you are here live with me, if you have a question, if I say something that resonates with you, I want to know it all. And listen, you'll see me look over here from time to time to look at your comments because for some reason in Facebook it doesn't say your name and I want to know who you are. So if you see me look over here, I'm only looking at your comments, okay? So let's get this party started. And again, we're continuing with a series I started last week, which is Success Doesn't Equal Easy. I think when people get a vision, you get excited. But even Habakkuk 2 says, though the vision tarries, wait for it. And the reason I believe, I got a curl hanging out of here, the reason I believe that it says that is because the vision is exciting. You see, the realization of it is exciting. But what's not exciting is that though it tarry, you gotta wait for it because it doesn't happen the way you want it to, and how fast you think it's gonna happen, and it doesn't happen in your timing. It's in God's timing, right? Hey, Baina, please tell me if I'm saying your name right. Right? I hate when I say people's names incorrectly. So tell me, phonetically spell it out because I'm hooked on phonics. In Jersey, in the house. So with that, grab your pen. I'm going in. By the way, if you missed part one, let me encourage you. The way I teach, everything I teach, one builds on the next. So you can always find our replays in my or on my YouTube channel, which is nrjnetwork.com. Okay, you can always find the replays there. All right. So with that, let's continue. And here's our foundational Bible verse for this series. I see more of you joining, so come on in and say hello and tell me where you are in the world. So, foundational Bible verse for the series is this Deuteronomy 8:18 that says, "And you shall remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you power to get wealth, that He may establish His covenant, which He swore to your fathers as it is this day." So in part one of this series, I'll talk to you about the covenant and who he made the covenant with, which is Abraham. Abraham, who they call him the father of all of us. And so I broke down the covenant and I read the Bible verses they talked about the covenant, and I gave you three steps Abraham teaches us. So as we are kind of walking through the Wealth Hall of Fame, by the way, as I share with you week after week, right? Baina. Okay, there you go. Appreciate you, girl, for spelling your name out. Because listen, I'm special, y'all. You got to phonetically spell it out for me, right? So listen, we're walking through the Wealth Hall of Fame, and the reason I chose to do this is because I know that you are already successful. I know many of you have the job you've always wanted, or you're almost there, and yet you feel like something's missing. You feel like you're not fulfilled, and you probably have this rumble inside you that you want to start a business, or you've already started and you want to grow it. If any of that sounds like you, you're in the right place because I need you to understand that God created you to profit. And the word profit means to gain. Those of you that are here with me week after week, I talk about that all the time because purpose and profit go together. You can't have one without the other. And when you're operating your purpose, God wants you to profit. That's that Wealth Hall of Fame. And that's why I'm walking you through these examples. Because listen, just because God gives you purpose and because He wants you to profit doesn't mean it's going to automatically happen. You got to do something to make it happen. That's why success doesn't equal easy. God never promised it to be easy, but He promised you'd be abundantly above all blessed if you're willing to do the work. So the Wealth Hall of Famer we're talking about this week is Esther. Now, if you've been in my tribe for a while, you know that Esther is one of my favorite people in the Bible. Matter of fact, I feel like I have my own for such a time as this moment as I got into my own purpose journey. And so just to give you a quick review of Esther's story, the first part, before I start getting into the 5 things that Esther teaches us, really, she teaches us the importance of knowing who you're serving. And the reason I want to have this conversation is listen, so many people call me, or I talk to so many of you that are really wanting to grow your business. And you say things to me like, oh, I just need to grow my marketing. Oh, I just need marketing strategy. But when you don't know who your ideal client is and you think you serve everybody, or you have like 6 or 7 different people you serve, yeah, the confused mind doesn't buy. And it will be the detriment of your business. It'll make your business die. I need you to get this. Even, dare I say, in a career, you're not clear on the right corporation, the right organization that's a good fit for your purpose and even the role you're meant to be in. Yeah, your career will die. You have Mondays that you don't look, you spend your whole weekend dreading Monday. You'll have Mondays where you don't want to get up. You'll be sitting in your office, the corner office, probably with your name on the door and your title on your title plate on your desk, and still hate your job. You can be getting a 6-figure paycheck and still feel like something's off. You know why? Because you are not clear on the one group of people God created you to serve. So important, y'all. And I'm going to teach you why this is important through Esther's story. So let me give you some background for those of you that don't know Esther's story, right? So I say, hey, Cheryl, I see you. You're so welcome. Bye, Ina. Had to stop because I would mess up your name. Okay, so listen, Esther. By the way, there's only 2 women that have books named after them in the Bible. We're going to talk about Ruth in this series too. So Esther, again, if you don't know Esther's story, so Esther was the king's second wife. Okay. So Queen Vashti, the king had called Queen Vashti's first wife to come and, parade in front of his friends. And she was like, I'm not doing that. So pretty much he fired her. I'm giving you the Cliff Note, Nicole Roberts Jones version. If you want to read all of the details, go read Esther. So this is a Cliff Note, Nicole Roberts Jones, probably more like South Central LA version because that's where I'm from, right? So he pretty much dismissed the queen because she didn't want to come in front of his homeboys, right? So what the king did to find his new queen is he started calling beautiful virgins all from all over the land, kind of like The Bachelor, if you guys know what I'm talking about, the TV show. So Esther's cousin Mordecai worked in the palace. Now, here's what I want you to know about Esther. Esther was an orphan, number one. Number two, she was a Jew. Her original name is Hadassah. So a Jew could never become queen. But because some Bibles say uncle, some versions say cousin, they were related. Mordecai worked in the palace and he heard what the king was up to. And he's like, girl, you got to run. You got to run and go get, go run for the bachelor. And so in order for her to run, he changed her name from Hadassah to Esther so they could hide that she was a Jew. So Esther went. And if you read the book of Esther, there's a movie called One Night with the King, I think. That one night Esther had with the king, she stood out from everybody else. And the thing, this is not a point. Well, it kind of goes with a point of I'm going to give you in a minute. Esther didn't do anything else but be herself. She didn't try to be like anybody else. She didn't try to, go get the booty lift. She didn't try to put the extra boobs in. She didn't do none of that. She was who she was authentically. And because of that, it made her stand out from everybody else. So pretty much Esther won, okay? So now Esther's in the palace. So here's the first thing I want you to get from Esther. You must be clear on why you are here. You've got to get clear on why you're here. Now listen, Esther didn't exactly know why she was there when she got to become queen, right? But what happened was Esther's queen now. Okay, now again, remember her husband doesn't know she's a Jew. So the king's right-hand man, his homeboy, Haman, decides that he wants to kill all the Jews. Okay. And so Mordecai comes to tell her what Haman does. And what Mordecai says to her is in Esther 4:14. And it says, yet who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this. See, what Mordecai says to her is, you got to stand in the gap. You got to go tell the king. And see, the problem with that is, again, the king doesn't know she's a Jew. When I tell this story, it also makes me think of Moses. The thing that's deep is they kind of have a reverse effect. So Moses, they had a whole decree out to kill all the baby Israelites. So what Moses' mother does is put him in a basket and he goes up the Nile, right? You've seen the movie probably or two or read about Moses. Moses gets raised in the palace as an Egyptian. See, there's no mistakes with God. What's the Bible verse say? All things work together for the good, not some things, not a couple things, all things. See, Moses is able to stand in the gap for his people because, I want y'all to get this, because he's raised in the palace. So when he finds out he's an Israelite, he knows certain things about how to go before the king, about how to talk to the king, because he was raised as a king's grandson. Isn't that deep? So, in a reverse kind of way, this is the same thing that Esther in this place, she could either choose to, I'm gonna just be queen and I'm gonna sit in a lap of luxury and eat, all the grapes that these servants peel from me. I'm gonna just love every minute of it. Or she could realize that she is here for such a time as this. I had a similar moment in my own career. I'm not gonna tell my whole story because many of you have heard it. But when I worked in the entertainment industry and I felt this inkling to come out, I realized what was happening at the other side of my journey is that everything I learned in the entertainment industry, how to produce, casting, all the things I loved, was for me to be able to do it here in my business. I realized God pulled me out for such a time as this because I didn't know that women like all of you were going to need me. I didn't know that I'd be producing my clients and really producing all your programs with my team in your business. I didn't know that in corporate, I'd be helping people get in the right seat on the bus, on the right bus, I should say, which is casting. But I needed to learn all that there to be able to do this here. My question to you is, do you know why you're here? Have you been able to connect the dots? This is bigger than you just making money. I hear so many people want to try to side hustle. If you want to side hustle, you're in the wrong place because I'm here for your purpose. See, God has a group of people that need you, that are waiting for you, that you were designed to serve. The question is, do you know it and are you owning it? See, in that moment, when Mordecai said to Esther, who knows whether you've come to the kingdom for such a time as this, she had to own it. She didn't have to, but she chose to. Okay. So then after she said, okay, you're right. Maybe I have. So the next thing she does is she gets help, right? She knew she needed a team behind her when she says, Esther 4:16, she says, go gather all the Jews who are present and fast for me. Neither eat nor drink for 3 days or nights, and I will ask my handmaidens also to fast. So she does it because she's clear. I've got to get direction from God. But listen, I need all of y'all to be with me in this. I need everybody to pray with me. The thing I think is so interesting is so many people think they're gonna do something different doing what they've already done. No, she knew she had to do something different, and she knew she needed direction to do it. And the thing I absolutely love about Esther, it was her faith because listen, it doesn't say this in the Bible verse. I'm going to walk you through what Esther did, but I guarantee you that it was a little bit of praying, a whole lot of trust. So I call this faith, purpose, profit. You need all three. Okay. So she had to let go. This is number three. She had to let go of what she wanted to do and really focus on what her clients needed. Her clients in that moment were the Jews. So it wasn't about her. And she knew that. See, because in the flesh, fear would make you run. In the flesh, when it's uncomfortable, you're out. In the flesh, even in the world, perception would say you are supposed to do this. The shoulds, what you should do. Who wrote the shoulds, by the way? And then we all sign up for them and abide by them, and we didn't write them, and we never said yes to them. So what Esther says back, and so that, by the way, 4:16, that was part A. Here's part B. Esther 4:16, part B. She says, and I will go to the king. So after she asked all of them to pray, you fast, you tell all my peeps, all your peeps to fast and pray, and I'm gonna fast and pray. In other words, I'm gonna seek God's direction. And then she says, and so I will then go to the king, which is against the law, and if I perish, I perish. See, she was willing to stand in the gap for her people. She was willing to die for her people. Now, I'm not saying we got to die for the people we serve, but will you die to who you used to be or who you already are to go after what's next? And not necessarily die, but will you let go? See, for me, when I got to this place in my own journey, I had to let go of all, that whole list I had written. I had to let go of my desires that I really wanted to work in the entertainment industry. I dreamed about it since I was 7 years old. I was already doing great in working in a career that many people dream of. I had to let go all of that go when I could feel God pulling me to begin to serve women like you. And so Esther realized I can stay in this palace and it be all about me, or I could decide to use my power for good. See, your purpose has power. And God gives you free will to choose. Will you do the thing you should do, or will you do the easy thing? Will you stretch and grow past where you are? And so the thing I love about Esther is she said, I need all my people with me on this. And I guarantee you, because of Esther's faith, God showed up and showed out. The other thing I've learned in my own journey is not only do you need faith, but y'all know faith without works is dead. And I talked about this last episode, so I'm not going to go all deep into it. But the reason you always hear me talk about strategy is I hear so many people who try all they know and it doesn't work. Because when God is asking you to do something you've never done, there's a version of you that you have not yet become, which means you need new tools. Okay. So this is why I'm clear that Esther called all her people and said, I need y'all to rally around me. I need y'all to pray. So what did Esther do? hmm So here's number four. You need to allow your clients to see you and be served by you before you jump in and do a sale. See, this is why I said you need more than marketing. You need to allow people to get to know your brand, to see who you are, to experience you. So it's not just about posting on social media, whatever, whenever, however, so people see you. It's not about being seen. It's about being experienced. Difference. Here's what Esther says, and this is what Esther does, rather, okay? So remember, she said, pray for 3 days, okay? So Esther chapter 5, I'm only going to read 1 through 4. Now, by the way, I'm not reading all of Esther, I'm reading pieces of it so you get what I'm teaching you, okay? Esther 1 through 4 says, on the third day, again, they've been praying. Okay. On the third day that Esther put on her royal robes and stood in the inner court of the king's palace, across from the king's house, while the king sat on his royal throne in the royal house, facing the entrance of the house. So it was when the king saw Esther standing in the court that she found favor in his sight. And the king held out to Esther the gold scepter that was in his hand. In other words, he said, come here, girl. Come here, boo. Right? Then Esther went near and touched the top of the scepter. And the king said to her, what do you wish, Queen Esther? What is your request? It shall be given to you up to half the kingdom. Now, do you think she asked for what she wanted in that moment? See, she knew from that time she sat. She didn't rush to it. She sat in quiet contemplation with God. So you need revelation and methodology. Revelation said, don't do it the first time. And somehow she got the methodology to do what I'm going to tell you she said, right? So Esther answered, if it pleases the king, let the king and Haman come today to the banquet that I have prepared for him. So she prepared a banquet. I need y'all to get this. Part of the process, part of the methodology. So then they go to the banquet. Okay, now I'm skipping to 6 through 8, same chapter. At the banquet, the king said to Esther, what is your petition? Because, he's been eating good. She set it out. She had the dancers there. And he's like, whatever you want, boo, I got you. He said, it'll be granted to you. What is your request? Up to half of the kingdom, it shall be done. Here's what Esther said back. My petition request is this. If I have found favor in the sight of the king, y'all think she asked him to kill him the second time? Or told him what was going on? She said, if it pleases the king, then let the king and Haman come to the banquet which I will prepare for them tomorrow. So this child threw another banquet. So I need you to understand there is methodology you need to understand in order for your ideal clients to see you and experience you. You can't just throw up a website and think, oh, people are going to buy because you have a website or because you have a sales page. So what? There's millions of websites and millions of sales pages. If people don't experience you and see you as their answer, they're not going to hire you. Matter of fact, I don't even like to call it sales. I like to call it an invitation, and you get to choose. Because if I'm inviting you into the very thing you need, which is what Esther is doing, y'all. Some of you guys don't even realize these videos you watching me is you actually coming to my banquets. And if we're a good fit because you've experienced me, you'll say, I kind of like her. And if we're not a good fit, you're going to say, she a lot. Normal. But you've got to allow people to experience you. That's exactly the thing Esther did when she had not one, not two, she held 3 banquets. Okay. And so the fifth thing I want you to get, now let me review 1 through 4, and this will be the last one. Okay. I'm always committed to be here 30 minutes or less. Let me go back through my notes. So number 1 is you must be clear on your why. Why are you here? And you have to stand in it unapologetically. You got to know your purpose. You're not everybody's answer. You're somebody's answer. The question is, do you know who you are to answer to? And are you operating in it fully and completely? Number 2, you need a team behind you and really behind your mission. Okay. You need a team that will pray with you, that will give you methodology, that will tease things out with you. You need it all because you need revelation and methodology. You can't do with one. Listen, you can pray about it and pray about it and pray about it. And most people that pray about it just sit and wait. And I'm going to tell you 9 times out of 10, you're waiting on God and God is waiting on you. What I know in my own business is God doesn't show up until I start to move. Because God to give me this much of my vision. Then I'll move it. Then he'll give me the next piece. Then in the middle of my movement, he gives you the next piece. See, he wants to see if you are worthy for the next step. Will you trust him for the next step? And that's why I believe that in the middle of the banquet is when God gave Esther the next step. He didn't tell her in the middle of it. He didn't tell her when. Hmm. So our last step is it takes a process to get to the result. There's no such thing as overnight success, but it's the one that diligently stays until the end. That's a Bible verse, y'all. It's the one that doesn't quit. It's the one, listen, I've been doing this for 30 years and I've seen how God has grown my purpose more and more. But did I see that I'd be here from the previous place? No. Did I see that even from, look, when I look at all, I saw the end, which I'm almost at the vision I saw. But now I realize how God had to take me through several iterations for me to grow and learn to get me to that place. It's a process. So here's what Esther did next. So I'm jumping to chapter 7 now. So I've read a part of chapter 4. I read a part of chapter 5. Now I'm jumping to chapter 7. So obviously there's a whole lot of stuff that happened in between, right? So let me find. So the second day of banquets. So remember the first day she had a banquet the same day. Then she had a banquet second, well, really was second day is a third banquet, whatever. Y'all rolling with me, right? On the second day at the banquet of wine, the king again said to Esther, "What is your petition? It shall be granted." Here's what she says back. She finally says, "If I have found favor in your sight and it pleases the king, let my life be given at my petition and my people at my request." I know the king was like, "What is she talking about?" Because remember, the king don't know she's a Jew. "For we have been sold, my people and I, to be destroyed, to be killed, and to be annihilated." Why can't I not say that word today? "Had we been sold as male and female slaves, I would have held my tongue, although the enemy could never compensate for the king's loss." So the king answered, Queen Esther said, "Who is he and where is he who would dare presume in his heart to do such a thing?" You know, Esther said back, "The enemy, the adversary is wicked Haman. It's your homeboy." So again, all of that Esther said to him, she could have died, y'all. The king could have said, You've been lying to me? You're a Jew?" But instead, the very thing that Haman created to kill all her people is the very thing he died on. And yet, who knows whether you've come to the kingdom for such a time as this? So, because Esther was brave, because she was willing to say yes to her purpose, despite any obstacle, despite being afraid, despite how hard it was, she was willing to not give up and hang in there, knowing that she was the answer. It's because of that. Because she sat in quiet contemplation and prayed about it and got methodology instead of just doing whatever. Instead of in that moment when Mordecai told her, how many of you guys would be emotional and go cry, go, "They're trying to get my people," right? Has she done that? I know I'm being extra. Has she done that in that moment? He probably would have killed her. You know, when I go back to Moses' story, it's so interesting how these stories parallel. And it's dropping in my spirit, by the way, while I'm talking to you that these stories are parallel. I didn't realize this before. Listen, all the time in Moses' story, the king kept saying no. What God was doing that was on purpose, I believe. He was allowing Moses to go through a process. And there's a Bible verse in the whole Moses story that talks about the fact that the king's heart is like water in the hands of God. God can make the king do whatever he wants. And because Esther was obedient, because she stuck through a process, because she just wasn't selfish about the seat she sat in, she didn't make it about her. Many of you are making your business about you, and it's not about you. It's about the people that need you. It's about them finding you and experiencing you. Sure, I know we all want to make money because we need to live. But you've got to understand when you're clear on who you are called to serve and the lane God created you to dwell in, profit comes. When you move all your desires and needs out of the way and go after serving those you were created to serve the way you were created to serve them, God shows up and shows out in ways you never could imagine. Right? So, with that said, somebody wrote Proverbs 2:1 for me. Thank you, Kimberly. 21:1. What is that? The king's hand is like water. in the hand of God, right? Is that what that is? Listen, you guys, can I tell you, I read the Bible for me. I read the Bible for years for me. I never realized that God was going to then tell me to teach from the Bible. Okay. So a couple years ago, maybe about 6 or 7 years ago, God began to show me to teach from it. So listen, when I reference the Bible, it's because I've read it. I know it's in there. I just don't know where it is because again, I read the Bible for me, for my revelation. When I was growing my purpose, I was studying the Bible. I had a coach and I was studying the Bible. Now I have a coach and I'm in a Bible class. Because you can never ever stop learning God and learning how God is using you, and you can never stop growing your purpose. Because when you're done on this level, there's more for you to do. You know, I would love to see what Esther did after that, but her story ended at the end of her chapter. But I know that that was the end of her story. My question to you is, what's the end of your story look like? Will you say yes and stand in the gap of all the people that need you? Or will you do only what's convenient because you're being selfish? Oh, I said it. Yep. You're making it all about you. It's not about you. God didn't put you on this earth to serve you. And God's gift to us is always that wealth that's attached to our purpose, which is the profit, right? So, with that said, that's it for our conversation for this week. Listen, this is part two, and I think it's probably, let me tell y'all, I think it's going to be a 7-part series, but then God shows up, and sometimes it is a bit longer. Let me be honest. As I was writing down this whole success doesn't equal easy because people keep coming to me and thinking that even though God has dropped some of your spirit, it's going to be easy. Even though you feel this rumble in your spirit to start a business, grow a business, to shift your career, whatever it is, that's going to be easy. That's not real. And because it's not easy, so many people quit. Listen, Oprah's success and Tyler Perry's success and anybody you can, Jeff Bezos' success, you know, all these people that are uber successful is because they didn't give up when times got tough. They didn't give up in the face of challenge. So my goal in this series is, as I'm sharing with you all the folks that are in what I call the Wealth Hall of Fame and God's Wealth Hall of Fame, because yes, God wants all of us to be wealthy, but it's not just money. It's wealthy in spirit, wealthy in health, wealthy in mindset, wealthy in relationships. I want you to see the examples that are set before us. Should we choose to do the work we're called to do, called and cultivated to do? Should we choose to be the women that God created us to be, do the work we've created to do, serve the people that need us, the blessings that come? So obviously, Esther sat on that throne and was blessed for days and years to come. All right. So, as I always do, I want to hear the one thing, you might have got more than one, that you found valuable in this episode. If you have questions, thoughts, comments, always post them here. Those of you that come live, post them while we're live because I can answer them live. And if you have another question, I can answer your question after that. You know, every Monday I'm here 7 p.m. EST. I'm going to continue to pour in and help you. Why? Because many of you are only operating at 10% of your gifts and talents. Oh, you think you're doing great. And maybe you are doing great compared to your family or your neighborhood, which is great. But I'm not measuring you by any of that. I'm measuring you by who God has created you to be. That's the measurement. So there's more for you because God is not through with you. So just like Esther, you would have thought her getting the crown would have been great, but that wasn't it. What is your for such a time as this moment? Have you gotten to it? Because if you haven't, it's coming. All right. So again, share the value you got out of this. And then let me ask you one other favor. If you get value out of these episodes, whether you watch them live or come back, I hear a lot of you guys come back and watch the replays. By the way, my replay ladies, whether you are on YouTube or here in Facebook, please by all means share comments because I do read every single one. But share. Why? I'm not trying to get popular, but here's what I know. There are other people that need this content that I share. There are other people that are on the edge of their purpose, of their next level, that need this content. So I need you to get this. I need you to get that this could be the very thing that shifts everything for them. That's why I ask you to share it, all right? So, with that, have a phenomenal rest of your week. I'll see you next Monday for another episode of FPP Live. Bye, y'all.